welcome in to the CHGO Bears Podcast. Chris Pankow is excited. Our dynamic sales executive in the background here, Nicholas Moreano, is excited. I'm excited. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. What's going on, Bears fans? You can see it. I'm going to channel my start of the show just like Adam Hogue. We are in the missing Hogue formation today. Don't worry. Hogue will be back next week, but we are forging ahead without him today.
How will we ever do it?
It's going to be a tough one. Congratulations, though, out of the gates here, just looking at the chat. Nate Wills, new gig, was apparently lost his gig about 6 months ago, has been on the search, and has found his next home. Congratulations. Good things happen to those who watch this show.
There you go.
A little break in the middle of the day, and the next thing you know, you got a new gig. Congratulations to you, Nate. That's awesome. We have a huge show today. Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, is coming up in 10 minutes, Nick.
Oh.
And everybody in this office is just having feelings. The Blackhawks show showed up here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was peacefully hanging out, and here comes Mario, here comes Greg, here comes Jay, and you know, little Jonathan Taves talk. And then Kevin Kadek, head of content, walked in and was like with the saddest face I've ever seen. So people are having sports feelings, Nick.
That's all right to have sports feelings, especially when it revolves around a guy like Jonathan Taves, the captain, right, of the Chicago Blackhawks. So I get it. And we have some sports feelings that we want to talk about here too, right, Mark?
Well, I was just looking at it and I thought, you know what, Bears fans have sports feelings too, and this is a Bears show. And so I'm thinking about back in time, like when a Bear retired, when was it most emotional for you? And as the Crampa on the show, the elder statesman.
You're calling yourself that now?
Well, they're hey man, I lean it to the people that watch the show. You want to call me Crampa, go right ahead. I mean, I'm the most fit guy in the history of the planet. That's not exactly true, but you know, I feel like I'm 10 years old, but you know, there are one or two gray hairs up here, so reality is in the mirror for me. But as the Crampa and or elder statesman and or just veteran Bears fan, January 10th, 1988. Lawrence, you're the only guy on the show right now that could remember it. I don't think Nick is.
January 10th, 1988.
January 10th, 1988.
I mean, that's in like
around
Fog Bowl era, but I don't know.
Just before Bears, Washington, different name back then in '88.
Let's go.
At Soldier Field, Walter Payton's final game.
Yeah.
And I still remember him sitting on the heated bench with the head in his hands, and I just felt an emotion right now. Walter was the greatest, and the way that ended, and sort of that for those who remember, the six people that perhaps remember on this podcast, like for that era ending with one Super Bowl was hugely disappointing. But Walter was the greatest, and so I think there's a similarity between Walter and Taves. You know, the captain, leader, first class, all of it. So that's kind of where I go. I think Walter was crying, Mubs. If he wasn't, he certainly was having feelings. So that's where I kind of got to with the Taves end of an era. Yeah. I know you have a different one.
Yeah, Mark, for me, I mean, Devin Hester was my favorite Chicago Bears player growing up. Loved everything about him, and I had to actually go back. What was his last game in a Bears uniform? And unfortunately, it's week 17 of the 2013 season where the Bears are playing the Packers at Soldier Field, and Hester actually has a 49-yard punt return in that game in the third quarter to help the Bears score and take the lead in that game, but that ends with the Randall Cobb wide open. But I guess not even in the moment I knew, like, you know, this would be Devin Hester's last game. There was speculation, and of course it was, but that's always a guy, like, every single time he touched the ball at Soldier Field. I remember the first game I ever went to as a Bears fan, he takes one back against the Saints, and, like, that's what I loved. And, you know, that ended up being his last game in a Bears uniform, and he went on to go play for Baltimore, Atlanta, and things like that. But it's just, that was the last one.
Let's live in fantasy land for at least 3 more minutes, because reality just sometimes isn't the best move. Fantasyland, Bears fans in the chat. And Gary Ross saying Urlacher, which is obviously a fair call.
Urlacher was another one for sure.
But here's Fantasyland. You can have one Bears player come back for one game. It's not just to win the game. A win, sure, great, but not so much for the Bears to win, but just you get to see this dude play one more time in his prime and do his thing. I'll even allow somebody could say someone that they didn't see. Like if you want to get a Gale Sayers moment, like I can rise him up and he could be in his prime. You get to watch him for one game over anybody that you actually have watched. I would allow something like that. One game in his prime. I'm giving you seats, 50-yard line, 10 rows up. You're there. All the Goose Island you can drink. Let's go. Who do you got? You can do it sober, by the way, too. You don't have to, whatever.
This is the easiest answer.
Yeah?
It's always the answer.
Who is
Come
it?
on, Nick.
Or we're just talking
It's
Bears?
Walter.
It's Walter?
Yeah. I wanted to go from people that I watched.
I don't think I would pick Walter.
Oh,
I think I'd go off the board.
Okay.
As much as I love Walter.
Where are you going with this, Mark?
I got two of them. I just had to bite my lip on it. Because I'm not quite sure that I would do my first thought, which is somebody that I have seen. But I've never had a more exciting Bear moment in my life than the ones that number 9 in his prime gave us. Off the bench in Minnesota.
The roller dome.
I mean,
Yeah.
McMahon for me was when he was going, but that's I don't know if I can do that. I think I would pick to see Gale.
Okay.
I think I would pick to see Gale.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with a more recent guy.
Ditko's a great answer.
Yeah, that's also a really good answer. I'm seeing some really good ones actually in the chat right now. I think for me, especially with how the offenses now are run, like Matt Forte was a little ahead of his time, being that pass dual threat. I know,
Oh my
I know,
God.
I know.
Forte.
The most boring guy of all time.
No,
It's
no,
like,
no, no, no,
why don't you
no,
just
no.
watch David Montgomery?
That's amazing.
Come
No,
on.
no, Matt Forte was way
I
more
know,
electric.
but like, come
that's
on.
awesome.
I'm going with guys I watched. I know I could say Walter
Forte.
Payton. I could say
No,
guys
no,
like that, but I would love to see Matt Forte again in like a modern offense like this with like the Chiefs.
I love that you just said that. That's such a Nick answer. He's got Forte's got the look. He's all together. He does things professional. He's a Nicholas Moreano.
He's my guy.
The only reason I said David Montgomery, it's just like, to me, Matt Forte is just like a good running back. Like, there's nothing special about him. Like, I don't need to see him playing.
I love me some Matt Forte growing up. Like, dude, when he got in the open field, I think it was the run. It was a screen pass, or maybe it was a outside zone run against the Detroit Lions. Takes up the right sideline like 70 yards. Those things just stick in my mind. But that's just me, like when I was growing up watching the Bears. Like Matt Forte was my dude.
Yeah, sure, I get it. It's just like,
I know.
Really?
No, it's one of the worst answers, but yet most adorable answers of all time. That's who mattered to Nick. That's his guy.
Yeah, yes.
my guy.
This is not. There's no right or wrong, even though
Undervalued,
that's completely
underappreciated.
wrong. But there's no right or wrong.
One of the favorites.
we
growing up,
can't-
Sure.
I wanted to also go like if I was like
Put some respect on 22's name, damn it.
for Bulls, like I would have loved to obviously see Jordan or like Rose play one more time in his prime because I see those highlights every single time.
I mean,
Yeah,
if we're
and then,
going down
and then you pick Matt Forte.
We're sticking
like,
to football.
what?
Sticking to football.
I know, but
It-
like if
it-
you're like, yeah, I'd like to see Michael Jordan, and then you say Matt Forte instead
Yeah,
of Walter
it's
Payton.
like
or
you
Gale
just
Sayers.
said from a Bulls standpoint, Horace Grant. If I
Exactly.
could just see Horace Grant out there
Not
one
even-
more
no,
time.
like Tyson Chandler.
If
or
I could,
like
if I
Tyrus
could,
Thomas.
if I could just get Andre
I think there's some
Sidocione.
disrespect going on for Matt Forte.
I just want to see
here.
Luol Deng again. God, he's a good player.
Luol Deng is a perfect Matt Forte. That is a perfect Matt Forte.
What
And
are
I
you
love
doing?
Luol Deng. Lou! All day.
Yeah,
Which,
I
by
love
the way,
Luol Deng.
congrats to the Bulls. That was amazing. I had so much fun last night. And yes, DraftKings, you're just paying me out, DraftKings. Let's go.
I'm winning bets. I'm fucking loving this.
13.5 points. Who didn't know the Bulls were coming back late in that game?
Bro,
Gary
I mean,
Ross.
Come on, I took the money line plus 687 with
Yep,
the boost.
I did, yeah.
Thanks, DraftKings.
When did you make that bet?
Yeah,
Third quarter, they're down 12.
and you got the
And it was
boost.
like at plus 550,
you
and I
got-
said
you
hit
got-
it with the 25% boost that they were given.
You got a little lucky. Dick Butkus is a
on.
great answer, too, by the way. Rise up 51 in his prime.
Yeah,
That would be.
Butkus would be good
we
too.
see there's
I
an
never
Adam
saw
Hogue
that.
in the chat. There's an Adam Hogue.
one more. One more. Ron Harper is another great Matt Forte. Little. Let me just get one more of Ronnie Harp. Just
Hating on the Matt
carrying that body around out there, but getting it done, getting the job done.
Getting it done.
Hey, Harp helped win championships 4, 5, and 6.
And Braggs wants to cut off his right arm to relive the 96 Bulls season. Yeah.
That's just a young Greg Braggs who doesn't realize that 91, 92, 93 were so far superior to 96. But, if you want to be the guy that likes 96 like everybody else out there and the Rodman and all the shine, those of us who know our Bulls through and through.
Does Nick know who Ron Harper is?
Do you know who Ron Harper is?
I have him on Wikipedia.
Are you serious?
Know.
You don't know who Ron Harper is?
No, of course I do. I saw his comment in here.
I don't know if I buy it. Who did Ron Harper come into the NBA with?
Who did he come in? Let's see.
No, you're cheating.
Oh my God, he's
cheating.
You're no idea. It's Clippers, baby.
Okay.
Right?
No, Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay, yeah.
Come on.
So I saw him play when he was on the Clips.
Cleveland, Clippers, Bulls, Lakers, Detroit.
I know Ron Harper.
Just to let you guys know about Ron Harper.
Okay.
Yeah, just to let us know.
That makes me feel so unbelievably old. I mean, we're not talking about Orlando Warriors, Ricky Sobers, Quentin Daly for those people. R.I.P. by the way.
1986.
Harper was phenomenal, and then he blew out his knee, and then our next guest will definitely remembers him. I can't. Nick. Hey, so let's all right, we'll get back to Ron Harper and sports feelings and Jonathan Toews retiring with a guy actually who loves hockey and loves all sports, the most diehard person of all time. One of my favorite people, on the rise in his career like no other, over to Sports Illustrated after I worked with him at Fansided for, I don't know, felt like a decade, wasn't quite that long. But joining us, the father of Maisie, Ben, and Genevieve, the newest man at Sports Illustrated, straight out of upstate New York, but now living in Rockford, Illinois, with the best background in all of sports media, Matt Verderame. What's up, my friend? NFL expert.
That was quite an introduction.
Thank you.
I'm good. How are you, Carm?
We're great. Toews' last game as a Blackhawk tonight, so we're having some sports feelings. I went back to January 10th, 1988, Walter Payton's last game as a Bear. They lose at home to Washington. He's sitting on I know you remember it. You're ultimately, when Verderame's done being a draft expert and covering the NFL and writing amazing stuff for SI, he's going to be at the NFL historian. All he does is watch stuff every single day. And you're a Chiefs fan, Matt Verderame. For people that don't know you, do you have a sports feeling moment of a last game of a Chief or anybody else around the NFL?
The NFL,
or anywhere. Well, you can pick any sport for as far as I'm concerned.
Probably in hockey, I always think of Martin Brodeur. I was at his last game with the Devils. I went to the game. That was the only game I've ever been to where I didn't do anything but pretty much watch one player, because that was all that mattered that entire game. So that would probably be the one. I mean, I wouldn't say Patrick Ewing, but he got unceremoniously traded, so that was a different deal. But yeah, probably Brodeur in New Jersey.
I love the
fact
that
Nick know who Martin Brodeur is?
Nick, do you know who Martin Brodeur is? That's a no. Okay.
Yeah, it's right over his shoulder, too. You see the
He's
jersey
a New Jersey
him
Devil. He's a goalie.
The GOAT. Possibly.
Greatest goaltender of all time.
There it is.
Now I know.
All right.
Patty Waugh.
But that is not why you're here, Verderame. So let's talk driving. Let's talk some NFL. Actually, I want to start with what do you think is happening with Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, and the Packers apparently just in no rush to make things easy for Rodgers and whatever. If you're going to give us that first-round pick, 13 overall, we'll do it. But if you're not, then maybe we'll just keep the guy.
I mean, right now I think that they're a stalemate, but I think the reality of it is the Packers aren't going to pay him $58.3 million, which is what's due to him by September. It's not happening. They're not paying him that amount of money. So the Jets ultimately know here he's got to get moved. And the only thing that would change this whole picture is if another team gets involved. Do the 49ers just say, you know what? Fine. We're going for it. I mean, that would change the picture. Then the Packers have the leverage we keep talking about in this. But otherwise, what are the Packers going to do? I mean, at some point, they got to move him. Now, I've talked to people in the league who say, look, they're not all that worried about getting picks for this draft. They want picks for next year's draft because Drake May and Caleb Williams are in that draft. And if Love doesn't pan out, then they've got all this ammunition to go up and get him. Now, the flip side of that is the Jets have 2 second-round picks right now, back-to-back. I do not think the Packers are getting the Jets' first-round pick. I have not talked to one person in the league who thinks the Jets are giving up that pick. So, if you're the Packers, would you take a 2 and then a conditional next year based upon how many games you win or how far you go in the playoffs? I think in the end of this, look, the only thing that could hold it up is if the Jets are saying, we want you to pay X of that $58 million and the Packers balk. But I think eventually it's going to get done one way or the other. It has to.
Matt, I've been seeing a lot lately, especially since we're getting close to the draft, where Houston may not take a quarterback at 2 and maybe takes the best player available that's not a quarterback. Where are you with that? Where, Houston obviously will be in the driver's seat after number 1 overall pick goes to Carolina, but is that becoming more of a possibility or just kind of something that's happening because the draft's coming up in a couple weeks?
Well, my colleague over at SI, Albert Breer, has put out there a few times, but look, it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee they're going to take a quarterback. Now, obviously, I certainly will stand with Albert on that one, but I will say this. I think it would be insane if they don't take a quarterback. It'd be insane. You're gonna continue to build this team and have Davis Mills under center. That's the answer for this team going forward. And you're gonna tell me DeMeco Ryans, he wants to go in there and deal with this. And for anybody who's like, well, it's his first year. Yeah, they just fired a couple guys on their first year. So if I'm DeMeco Ryans, I'm saying, look, I'll fix the defense. I'll deal with mid-round guys. We'll get a guy here, a guy there, free agency as time goes on. Maybe use a high pick on a defender with their second first-round pick. But if I'm DeMeco Ryans, I can fix the defense. That's my forte. I need a quarterback, and I think if you get one, look, the Texans aren't going to make a bunch of noise next year. I don't think no matter how this draft plays out. But in that division, you could win some more games. You could be at least a team that maybe wins 6 games, maybe even pushes. You're a little frisky. I put my mock out today. It's the only one I'll do. I had Stroud 1, and I had Bryce Young 2. Now, certainly you could flip those. But I would be very surprised if those aren't the top 2 picks in this draft.
So I read through your mock, and before we get to it was a great rate, loved it. I don't think you're right about the Bears, but we'll get to that in a second. I do think that that's not what I think. There is thoughts out there that if the Texans want Bryce Young, but they don't want C.J. Stroud, do you believe that noise, or do you think that, I mean, I get your take that they absolutely, if Young goes to the Panthers, then you take Stroud and be done with it, or you want to roll the dice big and go Anthony Richardson. You need a QB, but do you buy that noise?
I mean, look, I think if you're Houston and you really feel that way, and Young goes off the board to Carolina, which a lot of people think he will, I put Stroud 1 simply because I think Stroud is the safer bet, although I think Young might have the bigger upside. But, look, there's a real chance. In fact, there's probably even a better than 50-50 chance. I'm in the minority that Bryce Young goes number 1. If he does, and they don't love C.J. Stroud and they don't love Richardson enough to take him at 2, which is fine. I get that. Richardson hasn't thrown 1,000 passes between college and high school. I understand that. Then in theory, you take Will Anderson at 2. But if I'm the Texans, if you're not taking a quarterback, trade out of the pick. Straight out of it. Move back. Because you're not a Will Anderson away from winning anything that matters. So go back and get more capital. Now, I don't have a problem with them doing that if they really don't like those quarterbacks. But if they like one of these guys and they don't take a quarterback, I think they're nuts. In the end, public pressure matters too. They're going to get vilified in Houston if they don't take a quarterback with this pick. I mean, just absolutely crushed in the 4th biggest media market in the United States. So I still think they're walking away with a quarterback. But look, weirder things have happened. Years ago, everybody thought they were going to take Reggie Bush, and they took Mario Williams. So they went against the grain there. I mean, it does happen. I just think it's unlikely.
Man, let's get to your mock draft, and you have the Bears taking Skoronski at 9, and then I noticed 2 picks later, Paris Johnson going to the Titans. For you, is Skoronski just a safer pick? Like, if he's not going to amount to being, or one, also being maybe the best offensive lineman technician-wise, is he just somebody that if he doesn't go out and translate to tackle, you can move him inside, you have a good player that's going to be playing in the NFL for a long time? Is that why kind of over like a Paris Johnson who maybe fits more of the physical attributes that the Bears are kind of looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think my main thought on it was Skoronski has so much versatility up front. I think you're always going to be able to find somewhere he can play. always. Now, some of these guys that are tackles, like if they don't work out a tackle, you're just kind of screwed. I mean, they don't have the ability to kick inside and play guard, at least not naturally, where I think Skoronski could play anywhere. That said, this is a draft that is really, really deep in tackles. And so I talked to one scout a couple weeks ago who actually thought that was the best position in the draft, was all these offensive linemen. So if you want to sit there and say, hey, Paris Johnson, some people love Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. There are some people who think he's a late round pick. There are some people who think he's going to go in the top 12 picks. So, there's a lot of different guys you could throw in there. I just like Skoronski for the Bears, not because of the Northwestern ties, as I'm sure some people would see, but because I like the versatility. I think that just insulates you from him being a bust. I think if nothing else, you're going to get a good player who can start for a long time.
I do like that reframe there because he's a guard. Well, no, worst case scenario, he's a good guard. The floor for everybody else over there is that they can't play.
They can't play.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that I like the way you're thinking about it. What you just mentioned with the Bears options and Wright moving up on some boards and not. I think what the Bears are looking to do here is trade down, Matt. I think they look at that dude as going to be there at 16, 17, 18, and I'll go to 19 where you have Will Levis going to the Bucs. I think if you get if three quarterbacks go off the board, 1, 2, 3, which is what I think is going to happen, which a lot of people think is going to happen.
Yeah,
I could see Tampa. Hey, we got to come up and get him. You go down to 9. The Bears get a first-round pick. They get their right tackle at 19. That to me, that's a home run.
No, well, it would be. See, when I do mocks, I don't do trades. Although I will tease this next week just for fun. I did a mock draft where I traded every single first-round pick, and let me tell you, that was a mental exercise. We had some fun with it, but I think Carman, you're right. There's a very real chance the Cardinals trade that pick, and you're looking 1, 2, 3, right? I mean, in whatever order you want to put them in, Young, Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. I do think there's a chance Levis falls in this draft a little bit more than people think he will. But as we all know with quarterbacks, it takes one team. It takes one team that just says, you know what, he's our guy. Okay, fine. If you're the Bears and you can move back, that's awesome because the depth in this class is really good. And I think, frankly, again, talking to people around the NFL, a lot of people feel like the sweet spot of this draft is between picks 15 and 75 because there's not a ton of difference between a lot of these guys. There's not, there's a lot of depth in this draft. You're going to get some really good players even in the second round, early third round. And if you're the Bears, sure, move back. The problem is how many teams in a draft like that want to move up? And can you find that partner? Now, a lot of that ties into how does the board look? If a guy's falling, here, perfect example. Let's say Jalen Carter falls, okay? And you're on the clock as the Chicago Bears at 9, and Jalen Carter is staring you in the face. But let's say the Bears just, whatever, they don't want to take him. That's the kind of situation where you could trade back. But if the draft goes and Carter goes and the quarterbacks go and Will Anderson's off the board, you're going to have a lot of teams that say, you know what, we're good with waiting because we're going to fall right into some value. So I think a lot of it is just how does the board fall and do you get a surprise or two in the top 7, 8 picks?
Matt, let me ask you this. We're going to talk about the NFC North in a little bit here, Mark and I. Out of the teams there, between the Lions, who have 6 and 18, the Packers at 15, and then the Vikings at 23, who do you think, in your opinion, is most likely to select a quarterback out of those 3 teams?
That's a really good question. The Packers, I don't think will. I just can't imagine a scenario the Packers would do it. Minnesota's really interesting because I know that they have had preliminary discussions on an extension with Cousins. But nothing's happened, and he's got 1 year left on his deal. And he's well into his mid-30s at this point. Or at least I should say he's entering his mid-30s. If Herndon Hooker's there, does Minnesota say, you know what? Fine. Maybe. Now, here's the downside with Hooker. He's coming off the torn ACL, and he's 25 years old. Right. That's a real thing. His rookie deal is going to end. He's going to be 30. Okay?
Yep.
But he's got a lot of talent. And if he ends up being really good, you're still going to get a dozen years out of him. You're that upset about it? So that's a risk you might be willing to take if you're Minnesota. I think Hooker's going to be late first, early second. That all said, the Lions are really interesting because Goff had a very good season, but is he your long-term answer? And it's 6-12 like that. I think they're the best team in the division right now. I really do. I think the Lions, for the first time in a long time, are actually a team that could win a playoff game. Would they, if Anthony Richardson gets to 6, I feel like you're almost compelled to take him, right? Like you sit him because that's perfect for him. Sit for a year, really good coaching staff, right? I mean, that would be ideal. But I don't know that he gets there. I'll say Minnesota just because I think the board might fall in a way where and maybe if Levis falls enough, maybe they even move up. I'll say the Vikings, but I think the Lions, if the board falls the right way, would be a really, really interesting play there for Richardson.
So, man, I know you said, like, Green Bay is completely out of it. Is it just because they need to see what Jordan Love is or confident in what he can be and just out of the equation to even go that route to select another QB?
They have to find out who he is. I mean, you spent a first-round pick, and you've been dancing around this now for years. You got to find – and honestly, here's the quiet part of this. If you're the Packers. If he sucks and you're really bad next year, you can go get Caleb Williams or Drake May. Yep. So, like, who would you rather have? Will Levis this year? And here's the other part of this. What if Jordan Love's really good? Now what? Now you wasted that pick. So, like, if I'm them, I'd be like, look, guys, you got to get fact they do not have an owner. Mark Murphy's been there forever. That is a very patient, conservative organization. Nobody's losing their job this year if they go 4-13. Nobody. And they all know it. So if that team stinks, so what? Big deal, right? Especially if you get the Jets to give you that 2024 capital. You have all this ammunition. I don't think if you're look, could you guys name one free agent the Packers have signed this offseason?
I can't.
There's a reason. They haven't signed one.
No. Yeah.
Okay? Believe me. I'm not saying they're tanking, but I'm just saying, like, if Love isn't good, I think we can call that a happy accident for the Packers because now they've got this ability to go up and get a generational talent in Mayer Williams.
Which would be the Bears karma, by the way. Favre, Rodgers. Oh, yeah, they sucked for 1 year with Jordan Love. Now they got Caleb Williams, so they're going to be great again for 20 years. My trade scenario up to 3, Verderame, and we appreciate the time. We'll get you out here in a couple minutes. But you've got the Raiders taking Christian Gonzalez at 7. They've met with all 5 quarterbacks. I have the Titans trading up from 11 to 3 because the gambling market went nuts about 2 weeks ago with rumors around the Titans moving up to 3 to grab Richardson. So that's what I still think is going to happen, even though that noise has kind of calmed down. You don't think a quarterback's going to the Raiders because they've got Jimmy Garoppolo for 3 years and $34 million guaranteed?
So I put it this way again with this mock draft. Like I did my one where I'm just being funny with it next week, and we just went crazy with trades. But I try not to do trades and mocks because I just feel like it's insane. Like you have no idea what's going to happen. That being said, if you said to me, do you think the Raiders would trade up? I mean, the Raiders is pretty well documented. Tried to trade up to the number 1 overall pick. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Now, if you look at Garoppolo's deal, he's there for 2 years. I mean, unless they're just willing to eat an ungodly amount of dead cap or go post June 1 and spread the cap head out over the following 2 years into 25 and 24 and 25. I think it's more likely that they take a defensive player. I mean, other than Max Crosby, they are rancid defensively. That team's not stopping anybody. And in that division, if you can't stop anybody, you got a problem. Like you're going 0-4 against the Chiefs and the Chargers. So I think they will go defensive. Now, if Richardson falls, that changes the whole game. Okay, I personally don't believe that he's getting past the Colts. I don't. If you're the Colts, with the quarterback situation they've had since Andrew Luck, you're passing on that kid? I just can't do that. You're taking Lucas Van Ness? Like, what? There's no way. Nothing against Lucas Van Ness. He's a very good player. Your Iowa Hawkeyes are calm. But I think if you're the Colts, you have to take Richardson. Now, are the Raiders willing to trade up to 3? Maybe. The Titans, I think, are fascinating because you're right about the betting markets. And also, Rand Carthon's a first-year GM. And so my point, I should expound that. My point is with that, like, you want to find your guy. Tannehill has a year left on his deal. And by the way, the Texans might be getting their quarterback. And the Colts, who are also in your division, might get theirs. You want to jump in front of them and make a play in your division? Sure. I think the Titans make more sense than the Raiders. Because the Titans, to me, only have 1 year at Tannehill, and they have a whole new regime. The Raiders seem to be intent on being the Patriots again, which good luck with that. It never happens. So I think the Titans are more interesting in trading up than the Raiders are.
Matt, real quickly, who's the most polarizing prospect in this year's draft, in your opinion? You just watch this guy, you're like, oh, he could be this, and then, maybe.
Richardson.
Okay.
I think there's just this weird conversation about, like, people almost talk about this guy like he can't miss. Look, I love his talent. I think if he hits his ceiling, he could be an unbelievable, like, best quarterback in the class, easily type of quarterback. But he's thrown like 800 and some odd passes between high school and college. And like we've all seen for years, and I'm not saying it's going to happen with him, guys get drafted based on potential and their traits and what they could be. And all these coaches were like, I could turn this guy into something. You don't know that. You don't know that you can turn him into something. It's like the guy in baseball who's got a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, but he can't locate it. And everybody's like, but he throws 98. It's like, yeah, it's great. He just walked 5 guys. Richardson, if he hits the ceiling, he's going to be unbelievable. I think as character goes, great. The question's going to be, does that raw talent turn into something great, or does it stay just talent?
2 more. Do you buy Nolan Smith?
Yeah, I do. Georgia's been churning out kids left and right. I do buy him. I think he's a top 10 pick. I think he could go to Philly. They love Georgia defenders. They took Davis and Dean last year, but I think in worst case he's mid-first round.
See, the reason why I ask is you have him going to Philly 10, and you've got Skoronski to the Bears 9, or alignment at 9, and we're not okay. So you're not making trades, which is fine. Let's do it that way. Between those two, if I'm the Bears, I'm taking Nolan Smith, man. That ceiling is way higher. It's a scarier play because of his size and all that. But I mean, we're talking about a potential elite talent who's now being compared to Micah Parsons. All right. More importantly, he is Lawrence. The guy's getting Micah Parsons love. I don't think he is, but throw that name out there, I get excited. All right, Bears Chiefs. Are we going to Germany for him? You got any inside info here?
I would love to go to Germany for the game. I do not think I'm going. I have 2 young kids at the house. I think I'd come home and there'd be papers at the door. But I would love to do that. I think that would be an experience, just going out there and grabbing a brat and a beer and watching the game. I'd like to do it as a fan though, and not as a journalist. That would be my goal.
But is it confirmed? Did I miss something? It's not confirmed yet, right? But you think
it's not? But it's been heavily rumored.
Okay, so you think it's happening? Chiefs. It's a good. That means the Bears don't have to deal with your Arrowhead crowd, which I think is slightly overrated, but still very.
I think all home field advantage stuff is slightly overrated.
Fair enough. I mean,
does it matter?
Arrowhead. Okay, relax.
It matters in terms of weather. Like when it's really cold. Like if the Chiefs play the Dolphins in a playoff game, I think it matters if it's 8 degrees outside. Then I think it matters. But like the noise and all that, yeah, sure, it matters a little bit, sure. But I don't think it's like people make it out like can't win in that building. Like listen, you can win road games. Like these guys are professional athletes. It's okay.
Verderame, people should be reading you. Subscribe at SI long after you become a diehard here at CHGO. Great stuff. And last one on the way out. The Bears aren't doing this. But let's say they just trade down, and instead of your guy Bijan Robinson going to the Chargers and we're placing Austin Eckler at 21, and the Bears somehow, whatever they were going to take Darnell Wright, but Wright's gone all of a sudden, and now they're sitting there at 19, and Bijan's the best player on the board. Do you take him, Bijan? Let's go.
If the Bears take a running back, everybody should be fired.
Take that.
The Bears are like 30 needs. If they take a running back, everyone involved should be fired for that Cards start game.
Yeah, okay. They're not doing it. I just think, potential best player of the draft. Guys like that excite me. That's all, Bijan could be, in the Hall of Fame someday. We'll see. All right. Hey, thanks for making time, sir. Good luck to your Knicks in the playoffs.
Oh, God. They're going to lose. All right. Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, joining us. Huge New York Knick, New Jersey Devil, Kansas City Chief. Verderame's the man. Good friend of mine, and also just knows his football like no other, Nicholas Moreano.
He sure does. Mark, I was on my TV just watching and turned on the NBC Sports app
Yeah.
I see you on there.
There
You
it
know
is.
what you're talking about? Bijan Robinson again. The Bijan is everywhere with you.
Okay. All right,
Bijan
well,
and you are just a
all right.
connection.
We got to get you some of that mustard.
Okay, it's just for the record, on that show yesterday, if we're going behind the scenes,
I don't know. I've heard behind when I was on a couple days ago, the producer was telling me Mark brings up the
brought
Bijan.
right. Well, okay, I wouldn't. Anyway, that interview was taped prior to yesterday. It was last week. I wouldn't have brought that up yesterday. I'm a little cooler on it, even though I just brought it up here. But he's got him all the way down to 21, and it was in my notes, and I just figured that we would hit it because why not? Nick, what do you got to tell us? By the way, what's going on in your world over there?
Is it the world of Shady Rays?
That's the rule.
Where you can take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive we've worn here at CHGO. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. Keep my Shady Rays in my car. Convenient. Know I'm going to have my eyes protected and look good when I wear my Shady Rays. And what's awesome, if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they'll send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Wear Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is going to give out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use the code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The Shady Rays are rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
I love my Shady Rays as much as I love my Fubo TV, 140 live channels, sports shows, movies, news, all of it. Stream live to the TV from any device. You can watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price. Cubs, Sox, you get it right there. And yes, you can try it out. You can start watching immediately. 7-day free trial. Why would you not do that? Check out Fubo TV. You can do it right there. FuboTV.com/CHGO. You do that. That's right. You're going to get 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. You get Marquee. You get NBC Sports Chicago. You get it all. You also get 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra cost. And reminder, there's no contract. There's no cable. There's no hassle. Sign up. Start watching. I did it the other day. Living the dream. I loved it. Start watching immediately again with that 7-day free trial. Fubo TV. All right.
Oh, and of course, if you're watching the podcast right now, you have to know all about our draft party that we're having at Joe's Bar, 940 West Weed Street. You can come hang out April 27th, 28th. We have premium drink packages. You're going to be around a bunch of Bears fans, have a good time meeting some of the people here at CHGO. If you're a Bears fan, you are looking forward to the draft, got to be at Joe's Bar on April 27th and 28th to come hang out with us.
Yeah, I was there yesterday checking out the space. It looks, I think we're going to be in a good spot. I think it's going to be nice.
Okay. Good
Went
spot.
okay? You didn't say that with a whole lot of confidence.
No, it's good. No, we were just kind of checking out the the internet situation, Ethernet cables and all that good stuff, and everything worked out really well there. I was watching.
That is important. We need
for
those who are not coming, they need to be able to hear the show.
We will be streaming for probably 8 hours over the course of the 2 nights, so I figured we should check all that, and it seems to be pretty good. So, come on down.
Come on down and be there because the Bears are absolutely going to be trading down. That's my guess. Trade down is happening.
For the trade down.
Yeah. All right. We as we were thinking about what to do today, we decided to make our way around the division and take a peek at the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings. And by the way, don't leave right now because I have one of the least popular Carm takes of all time is coming up to wrap up the show here.
I'm curious what this could be, so
tune in. It's probably not going to be very popular, but I'm going to blame my father, Fred Carman, for this take because he instilled it in me at a very young age. So that's coming. But let's start with the Lions. Mm-hmm. Sitting at 6-18, Bears fans are absolutely terrified that Jalen Carter is going to fall to 6. I'm trying to make myself more comfortable with that by the moment. And let's be real here. The Lions have a chance to be a very good football team in 2023. Let's remind ourselves also at the same time that they still have Jared Goff at quarterback, and ultimately they're the Lions. And somehow bad things just tend to happen to Detroit. But some people have them taking Tyree Wilson at 6 if Carter is not there. Nick, you are officially our draft Detroit Lions expert for this moment in Showtime. So what do you got for 6 and 18?
Yeah, just looking at some of the needs for the Detroit Lions. They could use a tight end, could use some interior defensive line, maybe could use another wide receiver. They did revamp their secondary, so they're looking pretty good in that aspect. They added David Montgomery. But
the secondary's got Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who I thought the Bears might have been interested in, but they weren't. So
yeah,
the
so
Lions were.
They got some guys in the secondary, but they also Okudah just left, right? Just got traded, so maybe that changes their need at 6. They want to go ahead.
I just wondering, do we think the Bears even made a call on Jeff Okudah that the Lions wouldn't consider trading him in the division? Because I would have taken a flyer on a guy who, yes, has been hurt a ton, but did start 15 games last year, and add him into the Bears secondary depth. I would have been willing to do it.
I mean, that's a guy
fifth-round pick.
Yeah, a 5th-round pick for a guy that went number 3 overall, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a guy that maybe a change of scenery is exactly what Jeff Okudah needs. Dealt with some injuries, and what was that, during the COVID season too? So it's a lot of stuff that was going on for Okudah, but I doubt they would have traded with him. Even though Detroit's willing to do that. They did it with the Minnesota Vikings.
That's an excellent point.
But I don't know if maybe the Bears were on their radar.
Interested. Okay.
So maybe a guy like Christian Gonzalez is on their radar. What about Devin Witherspoon? But if Jalen Carter's there, Mark, like at 6, I think maybe they would take a chance on a guy like that. But let's say they don't address – let's say they go to the corner with the number 6 pick and they want to address that interior defensive lineman at number 18. A guy that I know a lot of Bears fans like, Kalijah Cansey, he could potentially be there at that spot. They also need a tight end.
That's Boots guy, by the way.
Yeah, he's an awesome player. He's a little bit of an outlier because of how, I guess, the frame he plays with. He gets a lot of Aaron Donald comparisons. But Michael Mayer is a tight end from Notre Dame. That could be also a potential landing spot for Detroit. And then I also have on here Darnell Wright as a guy that can also go in there for the Detroit Lions and make an impact. So I think regardless how you look at it, they're going to get some pretty darn good football players. However, it ends up. And let's say, Matt Verderame just brought up the idea, what if Anthony Richardson's there at 6? You have Jared Goff for the season to play out. He could sit there and develop. I think that one is almost a scary scenario out of all of them.
I was going to say, let's go scary scenarios. Carter, Richardson. The Lions are getting one of the two. I guess most people would say Anthony Richardson because you would bet against Richardson and you think that Carter is going to be great. But I just want to remind people about Jalen Carter. The people in the know say that he was hard to coach up, that his effort was inconsistent. Do we not all know people in our lives who are like that you can't talk to, that there's no way really to reach them, that some days they're great, some days they're not great? Do those people ever have that metamorphosis and turn into the dude that you want them to become? Or are they the same exact person that you knew 20 years ago and maybe they're 5% better?
This is an interesting conversation, Mark, because I was having the same conversation with the lady who cuts my hair. We're like, we have a high school reunion coming up in June.
I love it. I'm right there with your hairdresser.
Yes.
That's big.
Yes.
Maybe
and
could be next career for me.
We were talking about how, I bet everyone's still going to be the same as how they were in high school. You just maybe get a little bit more mature. And I agree with that. If you are this person, maybe, like you said, maybe 5% better, but that's probably who you are. Unless there's this crazy change in your scenery, the people you're around, and maybe that can help being going to an NFL team. But if he's hard to coach now, and he's getting premier coaching at Georgia, is Matt Eberflus going to be the guy that gets the most out of him? Is Dan Campbell? I don't know.
I mean, go bite an ankle right now. I'm Dan Campbell. You're gonna get the most out of yourself. Listen, and Nishia in the chat, still waiting on you, Carm. Well, first of all, Nishia, I have done an extensive amount of growth work to try to become the best Carm that I can possibly be. So you better back that off. Second of all, it's harder. I'm a little bit older than Jalen Carter. We're asking about a 22-year-old to transform when he's getting paid enormous money and in the NFL with just a bunch of toys at his disposal that he hasn't had. You're asking a lot for a guy who has not shown a whole lot of maturity to this point. That's all I'm saying.
I don't even remember high school. That was so long ago. I remember it. I'm certainly not that person anymore.
I'd say I'm pretty close to that guy.
Yeah, but
Nick,
that was like
Nick's
4
been
years ago for you. So like, what's come on.
A little longer than that.
Yes,
10-year reunion in
6.
June.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Here comes Braggs in the stands with his "You're a lot older" Carm.
Oh, your?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Oh, no.
Mr. English.
It's you,
learn
Greg.
learn how to use the words correctly. Braggs in the stands.
English tutoring me. I'm sorry.
Second of all, that's right. That's right. I am a lot older, buddy. Just like you're a lot. Never mind. I wouldn't do that. Thank you for getting that. All right. I want to rewind back one conversation just as far as Detroit's concerned. What's going on?
I'm rewinding.
That's the rewinding?
Yep, rewinding.
And this is for the chat, and this is for you, Nick, and this is for you, Lawrence.
yeah.
Nolan Smith, Peter Skoronski. Who do you want? Nolan Smith, Broderick Jones. Nolan Smith, Peter Johnson. Nolan Smith, Darnell Wright.
I mean, it's tough. The Bear. If Smith doesn't fit in the Bears system, then how the hell do you take him over a guy you need in the line?
Yeah, I mean, that for me.
You play him at linebacker. Play him at the will.
I mean, yeah.
I think, that if he can make that transition,
don't we have
I think
enough
he'd
linebackers
excel.
at this point? Didn't
Yeah,
we just
we do it. The
sign-
Bears do have a lot of linebackers. They do.
But none of them are elite. We
just
have
signed
Tremaine Edmonds.
we have
Tremaine
one
Edmonds.
elite linebacker. You have room for another
CJ
linebacker.
Edwards, we'll see how he does.
Okay,
in that
so
little spot.
all right, fine.
I'm not.
You're right.
I like Roderick Jones. I really do like Roderick Jones.
There's some
if that's
redundancy there.
So, no.
A lot of no to Nolan.
He's gonna be awesome though. He's gonna be an awesome player in the NFL. Nolan
Yeah,
Smith
and
is-
No to
and just
Nolan,
hearing,
no
like,
to Bijan.
Hearing Eagles, it's like, damn it, that's like a perfect place
There's
for
so
him.
many pass rushers too. Adding that
Yeah,
guy, it's just
I know.
come on now.
Yeah,
Come on.
That's not great.
Give me that mediocre offensive lineman, damn it. I want him right now.
These guys aren't mediocre. They're
They're the best of the
come
group
on.
None of them are viewed as elite.
yet.
Okay, it's not Eric Fisher.
Yes.
You're saying like the number one.
Like
overall
there's
pick?
no
Yeah.
there's no Quentin Nelson here. No one is like Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be the best left tackle of the last decade. No one has said anything like that. These dudes are not elite. These are capable guys. I'm not saying it would be a wrong pick, but and maybe they will turn into elite. But no one is jumping up and down like you gotta get Skoronski. We just heard Verderame. Like Skoronski because if he sucks at tackle, he'll be good at guard. You can even play him at center, which is a fine take and all, but it's
Safe.
And yes, I like shiny things, and none of those guys to me are super shiny. It's more like the 2014 Honda Accord that I'm driving around, which gets me there every single day. They rise and shine, Honda Accord. All right, should we move on?
No, let's keep talking about your Honda Accord. I have a 2013 Honda Accord. Shout out.
There we go.
2018.
I mean,
Go to the shop.
Maybe they're more like a 2022 Accord. All right, moving along. You want to go to Minnesota or you want to go to Green Bay?
Let's go to Green Bay. They're next.
Okay,
up on
15
the draft.
overall. Yep. So the Packers, who I think could be comfortably in a nice rebuild year that is not a whole lot, hasn't been really underlined that much, that this could be a great rebuild year for Green Bay. A lot of options for them once they finally get rid of Aaron Rodgers, which I'm assuming will happen before draft day, even though Mark Murphy is saying on his tour around Wisconsin that, yeah, I'm not going to be talking about that, and he won't even acknowledge there's an urgency to get this done before the draft, which there has to be. You've got to want to have extra picks going into this year's draft. But continue on, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at Green Bay's needs right now, you put wide receiver up there, tight end, defensive line, safety. Right now, the only two safeties on the roster are Darnell Savage and Rudy Ford. And I'm going to be completely honest, Mark, Rudy Ford, I don't even know who Rudy Ford is. Sorry if there's Green Bay fans watching this. Don't know. They haven't. Adrian Amos still unsigned. Marseilles Lewis is likely going to go to the Jets. Robert Tonyan is now with the Chicago Bears. So looking at their needs, will this finally be the year that they draft a quarterback in the first, or a wide receiver in the first round for their quarterback, Jordan Love? If it is, maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba would be a nice fit for the Green Bay Packers.
I see a lot of people having Njigba going 11th.
To the Tennessee Titans?
To the Titans. And I'm like, I don't. First of all, I think Tennessee's trading up. Second of all, I don't see that happening. So there's a scenario where JSN falls to the Packers. That's interesting.
Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. Again, the Green Bay Packers don't really have any tight ends on this roster right now. Dalton Kincaid.
Michael Mayer is impressive.
Yeah, so another tight end from Utah there. And then maybe they go and take the best safety in the draft, or what's considered Brian Branch from Alabama. So, they're most likely they're filling needs that also fit maybe positional value on their draft board to kind of get better here. But just talking with Matt Verderame, I'm like, what about quarterback? But he made a lot of good points of why it would be advantageous for the Green Bay Packers to roll with Jordan Love because of the likely outcome that can come after that. But tight end, wide receiver, safety, that's what I'm kind of looking at for the Green Bay Packers and how they can possibly address that with the 15th overall pick.
I would throw in Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah, caught 70. But did you say him?
I did.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. My bad. Sorry, was elsewhere for a minute. Don't exactly know where I was, but I'm coming back here. I'm here now.
We're here.
Thank you very much. You were throwing out a lot here. All right.
I don't know. For a Packers fan, I'm like, if you're going into this draft with the 15th overall pick, you're gonna get some guys that can make an impact in year one. But I don't know if I'm like overly excited about it. I don't know. That's just me.
Did you mention Preston Smith?
What about Preston Smith?
Well, I think he's a viable cut candidate to save them some dough. I just think there's a lot of different ways that Green Bay can play this. And I also think we can settle into, as a Bears fan, that Green Bay very well could suck for a while.
Which is weird, but yet familiar to us old Bears fans or older Bears fans, because Green Bay was not anywhere close to a good organization until Rodgers and before that Favre showed up. Like, Green Bay was just...
Yeah, they sucked.
They were awful.
The Bears are whooping their ass at one point.
So maybe that is on the table. All right, to Minnesota we go in a second, but first let's move along to something that your health, Nick. Can we talk about your health real fast? Because I'd like to hear about your health.
Yeah, and when it comes to my health, a big part of that is Athletic Greens. With one scoop of your AG1s, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day off right. This mixture of ingredients helps your immune system, gives you energy, and improves your focus, and that's why I take my Athletic Greens, and you should too. What's awesome about your AG1s is that it costs less than a cup of coffee a day. Also helps support better sleep quality and recovery, which we all definitely need. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. Super simple. No need for a million different pills and supplements. So look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Bears. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/CHGO Bears to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutrition insurance.
Shout out to our guy, Matt Peck, who wants the Bulls to lose, but also has gotten super healthy on Athletic Greens. We'll talk about that coming up here. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower your energy bills now and into the future, Nick.
Yeah, and ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
How exactly does that work, Nick?
Let me tell you, Mark. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs that can be done in person or virtually and lasts approximately 2 hours. And within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. And each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. And if you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money in energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/powered Powering Biz.
Don't wait. Move forward. Get that energy saving. Make the world a better place. Did you say ComEd.com/poweringbiz?
Yeah. Schedule it today, Mark.
I get after it. Let's go. All right. Cubs show's milling around here. I can feel the time getting shorter. So we move on to the Minnesota Vikings. Number 23 on your draft board. Lots of needs. Wide receiver, defensive line. We could point in linebacker. We could even go to quarterback, which we discussed earlier. Yeah. We've got guys moving around. We got Adam Thielen leaving. When you're looking at the Vikings, how are we sizing this one up?
Yeah, and they lost Patrick Peterson, and Dalvin Tomlinson in free agency. TJ Hawkinson's in Detroit. I mean, you can go maybe the best available cornerback there, Deonte Banks from Maryland. Kalijah Kancey also comes up as a potential guy that can also play in the division. Maybe it's now at Detroit at 18. Maybe it's at number 23 with the Minnesota Vikings. Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle from Michigan. And I think defense is what we're going to see the Minnesota Vikings go. If they don't go, I wouldn't say as an outlier to get a quarterback, but I think defense is where you're going to see the Minnesota Vikings try to target the best player available. And if it happens to be the corner or defensive interior, that makes a lot of sense in my eyes. And, if they do want to draft that quarterback too, like Hendon Hooker's been getting a lot of love lately, especially in the past week and a half. And I know the NFL or the Athletic did a mock draft, and Hendon Hooker went to the Minnesota Vikings at number 23. But there's a lot of things. Like he will be, 30 by the end of his rookie deal. He's still coming off the injury, but he still has a lot of the traits that you like at the quarterback position.
Just a reminder, the Vikings changes on the coaching staff. Ed Donatel, defensive coordinator, out the door. Corner makes a whole lot of sense here. Vikings also, Cam Dantzler, Patrick Peterson out the door, but they did add in Byron Murphy Jr. as well. So,
and wide receiver actually might be a slight need for them. No Adam Thielen. You have Justin Jefferson. I wouldn't be crazy to me too. Like, let's say it's maybe Jordan Addison from USC. We talked about him in our top 5. Like, that would also be another weapon to have with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, another dynamic duo there. So that could be a possibility as well.
Do you like receivers who could barely ride the rides at Great America? Go get Jordan Addison.
I think he's 6 feet.
I understand. He weighs like 4 pounds.
Well,
he's I like him too.
Yeah,
I got no problem with it. But
that'd be more like a Tank Dell. He's more on the shorter side.
Yeah.
But
okay, he's under 200 pounds.
Yeah,
he's.
I can ride all the rides at Six Flags, Mark. I'm under 200 pounds.
I'm glad they let you do that, Nick. You're a very mature guy. All right, are we ready for my?
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, Willie just chimed in for us saying $2. Said 20 sacks last year for the Bears. Shake my head. Go D-line in the first round.
I feel you, Willie.
Yeah.
I feel you on that $2 super chat all day long. 100%.
No doubt.
So, all right. I had a phenomenal time watching Bulls basketball last night, and I am super excited for Friday night in Miami.
Only the Bulls.
And shout out to Matt Peck, who, of course, does a phenomenal job sitting in this chair hosting our Bulls show, CHGO Bulls. If you're not watching, then I don't know what you're doing. They had a great crowd last night in there. I popped in myself. It was awesome to see him and Big Dave and Will. But ending Jimmy Butler's season, which the Bulls have an opportunity to do on Friday night, is cool. That's fun. Losing to him would suck, but it would be fun to end Jimmy's season. And, hey, it's if you get in and you're playing the Bucks, you're going to have to get by him at some point. So,
it ain't this year.
No, probably no. Of course not. But it's house money. They win a game, win 2 games. Let's go. I mean, the Bulls are actually, when they've been playing well, are trending up. There's been some ugly losses. Atlanta at the top of the food chain, but we saw what the Hawks did in the playoffs to Miami. Atlanta played a great game, so maybe it's not as bad. And then last night, I think everybody wrote off the season, probably turned off the TV for at least 5 seconds, and all of a sudden the Bulls showed a level of heart that no one thought they had. So that's not my hot take. That's upsetting. Now what is going to bother people? When I was growing up going to sporting events, I was raised on this sportsmanship thing. And in my household, yelling when someone was at the free throw line was frowned upon, which I thought was ridiculous. The whole crowd was doing it. But my now 97-year-old father, Papa Fred, was like, that's cheating. That's lame. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's fine. But I had that in my head. And here comes DeMar's daughter. And the Raptors shot 50% from the free throw line. And she's going with this horrendous screech from a 9-year-old. And I'm thinking to myself, from a parenting perspective, do I want my 9-year-old kid? The mom's sitting, I think that was
she was high-fiving her. It was great.
I mean, would I let my kid sit there and screech every time the opposing team is I
mean, Dad's on the team. I feel like it's a little different if it's just like a random kid versus DeMar's kid.
Okay, interesting take. We're trying to help Dad, but we're doing it, we're trying to impact the action. Whatever. I'm not
she
sure.
Did awesome, man.
I'm not sure that if I was DeMar, that I might not have just. He said that he was worried that she was okay because he heard it at one point. So I'm not sure if at halftime if I might have sent a note out like, hey, can you please tell my beautiful, amazing daughter who I love to the end of the earth to knock it off with the screeching because it's a little bit much, and that's not how we're going to live our life. That is my old man. Sportsmanship, kind of awkward, 9-year-old parenting suggestion and she's apparently not going to be there on Friday against Miami because she's got to go back to school. Taking out of school, totally into that. Let's go. That was a learning experience. You were supporting Dad. You're allowed to miss a day of school. You'll catch up. I believe in you. But the screeching thing, I don't know.
I think she's way better than the girl at Northwestern that was there screaming for 5 years right behind the announcer table.
That would be Emily Harriet.
Yeah, can't stand her.
I mean, look at the impact she had in that game. They couldn't shoot free throws to save their lives, the Toronto Raptors. But I do agree, Mark. I do agree with Lawrence here. Because it's her father playing in the game, it's different. But if I'm like someone near there, I'm like, what the hell is going on? But if you're seeing it's like making an impact, like, I was all for it. I'm like, keep screaming, little girl, and then boom, miss a free throw.
18 for 36.
Oh,
I mean, imagine if you were sitting next to her.
Yeah, I know. That would be.
Would you?
I would not be pleased.
You would not be pleased,
no.
Benedetto.
But honestly, though, after the first 5, I would realize, oh, hey, that's DeMar DeRozan's daughter. I have really good seats. Let's keep going. I'd help out. I'd start screaming too.
Yeah.
Chat's giving Carm's worst take ever from McBay.
Yeah, whatever.
Kennetur.
Mick Baconator.
Thank you very much. Prison Mike's got Carm, you're off the show.
Oh, no.
Am I the only one that had this thought? Did anybody else
I have my
remotely
buddy
think this?
I have my buddy.
Yeah, I'll tell you someone who thought it.
Huh?
Casey Standahar, head of social.
Yeah?
She was not a fan.
She was not a fan.
Yeah, I don't know where
So I'm not alone.
I don't see her right now. But
I had some friends that were like, why? Who is that? Have her stop.
I mean, she was. I was amused by it. I put a tweet out saying she's the MVP, but then I felt guilty about that too. Like, yeah,
Bulls got that W. Let's go.
They did get that W, by any means necessary.
It's a roller coaster ride, and I don't want it to end
Let's
yet.
go.
Mark.
There's definitely a part of me that wants her to be in Miami and do the same screech. Let's go. I want to get into these playoffs. I'd love to drive up to Milwaukee and enjoy some Bulls basketball next week. Let's go. But there is part of me that it just felt a little bit off.
Yeah.
By the way, holy mature 9-year-old. The coat and the hair.
Awesome.
And, I mean,
the lost and found Jays, too.
Yeah.
He's going to be running the world.
Man.
Fit check. 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's get out of here.
Is that it?
Yeah, we're done.
That's it. All right. Thanks to Matt Verderame. Nick, good to be with you today. You and Will back tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Huge Hawk show coming up today at 3. Kevin.
It's sort of a Hawk show. It's the Chicago Sports Podcast.
Oh, the Chicago Sports Podcast.
Where
my
we
bad.
talk about everything.
Where we're talking about everything.
But today we're definitely talking about Johnny T.
Yeah. So big day, and Cubs milling around here too. So we got to go. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hit that like button on the way out, and Nick and Will, we'll see you tomorrow.